Hi, this is Dr. Saldivar with another episode of the Way to College podcast. And wow, I never imagined where the podcast would take me. And I've said this many a times, but it really like just this network of people continues to grow and to expand. And many of you, I've shared how I find guests. Oftentimes people reach out or guests are recommended to me. And today's guest is actually one of those individuals who was recommended to me by my wife. And she was one of my wife's high school students. And I, I think so. My wife came across her social media profile,
Uh-huh.
and she said, "Hey, I think you need to interview her because she is totally doing something that I never would have imagined or ever would have expected." And I thought, okay. And so I looked at the social media profile, and I was like, "Wow, oh my God!" And it was like this video, and it kind of like music video slash like work video. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was pretty incredible. So, Kayla, would you mind introducing yourself for our listeners and viewers out there?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So my name's Kayla Mendez. I am a climbing arborist and business owner based out of San Antonio, Texas. I co-own a tree service company, and I have for about eight eight years now with my
Wow.
yeah. It's been a minute. It's a fun combination of entrepreneurship and adventure. There's a lot of thrill seeking involved. I'm originally a graduate of Ed Couchasa High School. I believe I'm the class of 2010. Geez, yeah, I'm the class of 2010. And I left once I graduated. I left to attend Trinity University here in San Antonio, per the recommendation of your wife. And I never left San Antonio. I've been here ever since.
And I think most people don't, right? They love San Antonio. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful city. It's so much to do. But I imagine most Trinity graduates don't like they don't imagine themselves. I'm going to go to Trinity, right, which was one of the best liberal arts colleges in the country,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to be an arborist.
No.
Right, right. So okay, so Kayla, with all my guests, I asked if you had to identify a starting point for your educational journey and education. Think education broadly, not just like a classroom, but one of those moments where I'll never forget that moment because it was really significant because I learned a lot or something. It was like this pivotal moment in my life. Where would that, what is that moment for you?
Sure. Haha. Let me think. So starting point for the educational. I mean, instinctively, I wanted to say like my educational journey started when I left home and was took off for school and was thrown out into the world on my own. But there is actually one moment that stands out, and it was towards the tail end of my senior year at Trinity. I took this random, wasn't supposed to be in this random class on entrepreneurship. I wasn't supposed to be in it. I didn't get into another class, and I was just scrambling to, fill a schedule. And I joined this one, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was an experimental class. It was the first time they ever offered it, and I joined. Um, and before that class, I think I had been going through the motions of school, getting good grades, committing to a field of study that I didn't necessarily love, networking, getting the degree because that was the expectation. But that when I joined that class, I think that's the time where it's like I came alive and I realized because I was surrounded by other people who wanted to start businesses and they found, areas like voids in markets and they wanted to fill and they were super ambitious and I I that class is where it changed for me, I think. And I knew that I wanted to work for myself. I didn't know what I'd be doing, though.
Yeah.
I just knew that one day I wanted to own my own business. Um, I I think I've always been like a dabbler, and as I was nearing graduation, the idea of committing to a job and being indoors and getting stuck in traffic and going to and from work. And all of that sounded very daunting to me. I wanted adventure and I saw entrepreneurship as my way. Like, I'm going to find something I can do and make
Yeah.
money doing it. Didn't know what it was at the time though, but that class I think changed it for me. And that was a class, like I said, I wasn't supposed to take. It was the last semester, senior year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a lot of questions now just based on
Sure.
that. And so the first, well, one is more of a comment, and it's just, isn't it funny how kind of when we least expect it and when we're not looking for it, we have those moments.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when we don't plan for it, you just kind of, you know, I imagine you go into this class, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you're
Sure.
going into this class, you didn't go in, hopefully not thinking like just, a giant sigh. I've just got to get through this, but maybe more open-minded. Let me see what this class has to offer. How did you go into it?
Um, I'm one of those people who like I take every opportunity, right? And when I joined that class, I was like, all right, let's see what I can pick up from this. So I was super open-minded, I was receptive to anything I was gonna learn. I mean, I'm paying for this education and Trinity ain't cheap. So, I gotta maximize. And I can actually pinpoint not just the class,
Yeah.
but one of the last I told you this class, this was a new class, and the
Hmm.
professor didn't exactly know what she was doing. And towards the end, I get think to fill time, she was just bringing in grads who were out there in the world starting their own businesses, and that's really what it was towards the end. And this one chick stood out to me. She did for one of the glass classes, the professor did a panel, and there was this chick from Colombia, writer, like bright chick, super outgoing, full of life. And I remember her saying, "Oh, I lied on all of my resumes." She's like, sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, right? And she's like, just don't, she's like, they don't follow all the rules. She's like, just fake it till you make it. It was actually her. Like, she influenced me. She was beautiful. She just stood out and
Yeah.
she was doing really well. And she was very open and authentic about the fact that, hey, I kind of lied to get to where I am today, but that's sometimes what you got to do. And I know I don't think you should, don't do that.
Well,
I'm
I
not
think,
giving advice, but
yeah.
she left an impression. I've never forgotten her. It was she left an impression on me, and I think she had a huge influence on how I treated life after that. That's not
Well,
great.
so it sounds like, and I apologize if you hear a dog in the back, but we have a lot of dogs, and
So do I.
my wife's trying to entertain them, keep them entertained. But um, she sounds like, I still teach part time, and I coach students through like career advice and career planning, and I tell them don't lie on the resume. But
Yeah.
I think if anything, it sounds like what you could take away from that experience. Certainly, I think if I was in that moment or in that space, just the fearlessness
Yeah.
to kind of be so bold and to just say like, I've lied and it's worked out, and
Yeah.
kind of just owning it. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool, and props to her for saying that. But so let me ask you though, you've got to take this class
Mhm.
because, or you don't have to take this class. You have to take it, but because you've got to fulfill some credit, right? But it wasn't the class you were originally supposed to do.
Right.
What were you majoring in at that point?
Urban issues and public policy.
Okay.
I thought, and that, man, I never knew what I wanted to do. When I got to Trinity, and you're surrounded by the best of the best, and I didn't necessarily feel as though I was prepared compared to some of these students. Like
Yeah.
it's global competition. I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. All of these kids, man, they had plans. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And there was me. I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted out of life, and I was so intimidated by everybody knowing how or seemingly having it figured out, right?
Yeah.
And I was just I chose my major, my field of study because I had to choose something by like sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I just gravitated toward classes I enjoyed. I liked writing policy memos. I was pretty good at that. I was I and I was kind of involved locally, politically, and I was very active, and it just made sense. Now, did I do anything with that? Well, I'm an urban arborist, sure, maybe. Like, there's urban planning involved, sure,
Yeah.
okay. But it was I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just didn't know. And so I went
Yeah.
through the motions and I chose something. Urban issues and public policy, man. It landed. I had to choose. I couldn't really waste any more time or stay longer than 4 years. Can't afford it. So,
Yeah. Wow. So, okay, so you take this class, you've got this incredible experience,
yeah.
but then of course, graduation comes.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for Kayla Mendez at that point?
Oh boy. Okay. Here's the unconventional part. So I had some job offers. And like I said earlier, I had been a good student for so long. I graduated top of my class in high school and I did really well. And I think, well, at Trinity, I had to work harder than others. I
Hmm.
think I wasn't necessarily prepared for that kind of education. So I had to spend more time in the library. I just had to work harder. Um, and towards the end, I just didn't want to sit at a desk anymore. I
Yeah.
wanted adventure. I wanted to do something different. So I graduated and I decided I was going to seek adventure instead. So I started rock climbing, and in order to pay bills, I became a bartender downtown San Antonio, to my parents' disappointment after they but yeah, no, I became a bartender and I loved it too. I mean, kind of. I bartended across from the courthouse, so my clientele, it was a bunch of lawyers.
Yeah.
I got to know, and they offered me jobs, and they said, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You're meant for greater things." And I was honest with people, like, "No, I want to do this. I want to have fun. I want to, I just want to live on my terms."
Yeah.
And I don't want to be at a desk anymore, and I want to figure things out. So I bartended for about a year, and I was rock climbing as a hobby, which led me to tree climbing. I don't know if I'm getting ahead.
No, no, this is your story.
um,
You're leading me, so go ahead.
well, so my boyfriend was in medical school, and that's a whole long story as to how we ended up owning this business. But I'm going to try to keep it. I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. Um, he, his father passed away while he was in medical school, so he had to take a year off.
Mhm.
His father passed away at 60. It was devastating. His father was paying for the school, so there was a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
Um, and during that time, we were both just trying to survive. His father passed away, left a mess of an estate. And there was a lot to sort through. So I was bartending and he needed a job. And one day, looking for a job, because he also wanted some adventure and we wanted to kind of live free for a little bit, he found a job saying it was like a job description for a climber, but that's it. They didn't say what kind of
Yeah.
climber, just a climber. So he applied for the job, got it, and it ended up being tree climbing. And he went for it. It was just something to pay the bills. That's it. We were just looking to pay the bills. And um, okay, to keep this story very short, because this is a long one, but one day the client handed my boyfriend the check, and he had taken over. He was a Trinity grad, go getter, just gets it all done, doesn't need to be told more than once to lead. It's he gets it done. Well, he is running this company for this older gentleman, and one day the client hands him the check they weren't supposed to, and he saw it was a fat check for about $5,000. And my boyfriend did all the work, handled everything, and he was getting paid like, I don't know, man, back then, like $200 a day, like,
Wow.
um, which wasn't much if you think about how much he was doing to run that
Yeah.
company. Okay. So he comes home one day and says, I think we should start our own company. I think I should break off on my own. And I'm like, let's do it. All right, I'm game. And that's kind of where it all started. Now, where did my climbing journey begin? Okay. We started this company, we were two young kids trying to make it. Well, I had helped out. I was still bartending, but I would help
Yeah.
out with the business and like helping on the ground, like, answering phone calls, that kind of stuff. And I would watch him climb, and I was kind of interested. Okay, yeah, it looks like fun climbing trees. All right. Well, one day, you're in those early business days. You're working to put food on the table. Like you can't fall behind schedule. There's help ain't coming, man. Like you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Um, and we were extremely behind schedule. And he was climbing this tree and he ended up getting a piece of sawdust in his eye because men just can't wear their freaking safety glasses. Let me tell you. He gets a piece of sawdust in his eye and we need to finish that job. We need to finish that job that day. Like there's no more behind schedule. Like we are broke, we're starving, we need to pay bills. And so I told him, hey, I'll go up and I'll finish the tree. And he said no, because if you freeze up there, if you get scared, I can't rescue you. And I said, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I put the harness on, I go up and knock out the job, and I never looked back. Like I loved it. I loved the thrill of working in trees. It was exciting. And I believe that day I told him, I'll do this from now on. I'll climb, but I'm never going to use a chainsaw. Uh, and now today, like if you look at some of my jobs, I'm riding cranes. I'm using some of the biggest chainsaws that are like half my weight. And it got crazy and it got crazy fast. And our business blew up. And so we never looked back. That's how I ended up here. That's a very abbreviated story. But that's how I became a climbing arborist. And so we've been doing it for 8 years, have a successful company. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So needless to say, your husband is not a doctor.
No, he is not a doctor.
Now, you said, you graduated and you immediately after graduation, you've got to pay the bills. So you're bartending and taking up rock climbing. And you said, much to the disappointment of your parents. Now, what did your parents say when you tell them we're starting this business, right? What was their reaction?
Uh, I mean, it was the same friends, family, people just they raised their eyebrow and they're like, "You're gonna do what now?" And nobody thought it was a good idea. Two college, Trinity University grads, like you all could be doing something else, but both of us wanted to own our own business. So my mother disapproved. My dad was a laborer. He worked with his hands, and she said to me, I don't speak Spanish, but in
Yeah,
Spanish, she said, you know, um, we worked so hard so you wouldn't have to do this kind of work. Um,
yeah,
so, what are you doing? And I don't try to explain it to people. It was hard for them to accept it in the beginning, but that was sort of my motivation behind starting the social media that you see now, the Instagram.
yeah,
I knew people didn't understand it based on the looks I was getting. They didn't get it. They just thought tree climber, laborer, hot, outside, you're sweating. They have all
yeah,
these ideas of what it means to be an arborist. And so that led me to creating the social media profile so that my mom can my dad too, but mainly my mom. My dad doesn't, he didn't judge. He goes along with anything, but it was my mother. I
yeah,
wanted her to understand like what we were doing and how it was just much more than just being a laborer. And the profile blew up. I mean, I got sponsors. I've been featured in catalogs, on podcasts, in magazines. Um, my pictures are on like websites for product promotions. And
wow,
I think it was after it really took off and my mom saw um, what what I was doing as a female in a male dominated industry, a blue collar male dominated industry, that I
Yeah.
think she had like a sense of pride. And she finally understood that this isn't just like me climbing trees and sweating it out. Like it's a thrill and there's no going back either. And I told her
Yeah.
that too. Like once you're up there, once you're doing these crazy jobs, like life isn't the same anymore. It's like I'm never going back. Like when I'm up there with a gigantic chainsaw and any wrong move could kill me, and you work through that fear and you get it done, like there is no going back to normal life. There just
Yeah.
isn't. I'm a thrill seeker and I was born that way, man, like an adrenaline junkie, but I love it. I live for it.
Yeah.
So that I got a lot of disapproving looks. My friends didn't get it. All my friends from Trinity, they disapproved.
Yeah.
I kind of just stopped talking to some of my friends and I just followed the path. I mean, you just got to replace your friends and maybe don't listen to your family sometimes. I think
So, well, and speaking of that, like, I am right. I'm a college instructor. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I love education and the value of education and the experiences that it affords us. But I grew up working in my dad's auto body shop, and so I don't know if he did that. Like he did that to teach me a lesson. Like he took me and I was young. I was like 10 when I started. And he was like, I want you to know that you have options and you don't have to do this work. But I grew to really like it, to appreciate it, and I loved it, and I and appreciate the art involved in that kind of work. So, Kayla, for the countless students, because I still see this, the countless students who are afraid to say, like they're afraid to let their parent, like they believe I'm going to let mom and dad down if I tell them that I want to do this or I want to pursue this. Do you have any advice for them?
Oh, let them down, man. I mean, like just follow like your, I mean, it sounds so corny, but like follow your gut, man. Like follow your passions, like whatever sets your heart on fire, like just follow it, you know? And maybe you'll fail. I mean, I've failed a lot. I mean, I'm not joking. This business did not do well in the beginning. We I mean, we struggled so much and that's we ended up getting sued at in the beginning over my boyfriend's father's estate. The sister, he was the administrator of the estate, right? And his sisters believed he was hiding money, so they sued us. So we were a couple of 20-year-olds getting sued. You have to pay to defend yourself legally, by the way.
Yeah.
So we were a couple of 20-year-olds getting sued, starting a business. We were not making it, you know? And I stuck to the path, but there were times there where we were so broke. Oh, I really hope my mom doesn't watch this. We were so broke, and we don't like asking for help, but since we were living job to job, paycheck to paycheck, just trying to make this dream happen, we were
Yeah.
so broke that there were times we had to go donate plasma to
Hmm.
get the money from donating plasma in order to pay for Little Caesars pizzas in order to eat that night. And so,
Yeah.
like, we were starving kids, man. And so I didn't want to tell my parents because it's like, oh, well, they would totally think that they were right. I failed. I failed. Like, we're not making it. Mind you, we were up against it. But yeah, I don't know. I just still didn't listen. We kept going and it's paid off. I mean, years later, it's paid off. Like I work for myself. If I wake up in the morning and I don't feel like working, I can cancel the day. Kind of, people
Okay.
depend on me. But but it was rough, man. And
Yeah.
you might fail. You might let them down. Do it anyway. I mean, I did, and I made it. I don't
Yeah. Well, and thank you because um I mean it sounds like in spite of the challenges, the setbacks, one of I mean you kept moving forward. Like you believed
know.
in yourself, right? You bet big on yourself and you just kept going forward. And I think a lot of times, right, we're afraid, I was reading an
Yeah.
assignment this morning and a student said, my I fear that I won't be able to to come back from failure. And I'm thinking, just keep going forward. Like even if you fail, keep going, right? Learn from it and keep going forward. And I think your experience sounds like it's a great lesson in that. Just moving
Yeah.
and believing in yourself.
Yeah, I think a lot of people from Trinity would never have expected that I'd be like starving, and it just,
Yeah.
yeah, and we don't ask for help. We like neither one of us asks for help. And maybe we're just kind of stubborn and that's what got us here. I mean, stupidly stubborn. I don't know. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I failed. I failed so many times. But we made it anyway. And I just kind of hid my failures. I think there's a lot of pressure too. It's like so many young students now are face the pressures of social media and comparison, right? And when I was failing, when we weren't making it, I mean, mind you, we were getting sued. That's an extreme circumstance, right?
Yeah.
That led us to like that form of poverty, that deep, form of poverty. Uh, I lost my thread. Where was I going? I'm sorry, I lost my thread. Um,
Just the setbacks and just the persistence, I think, right? Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry. I lost my thread. I lost my thread.
It happens. One thing I would ask though is, you decide you're going to start a business, and I get a lot of students that said, so I work with first year students, and the class that I teach is a relatively new class where students kind of I help students identify potential majors, but also like helping them see the world kind of through just more open minded, and like, hey, there are a lot of jobs that maybe don't exist yet. And so how do
Mhm.
you prepare for something like that? And how do you stay open minded and be ready for those moments? And so I get a lot of students that are like, I want to be my own boss. I want to be my own boss. You, as your own boss, what advice would you give them? Like, in terms of maybe the things that we don't think about, right? Because maybe all we think about is I get to decide whether I want to go work today, or I'm in control of my time. What are the things we don't think about as a boss, as our own boss?
I mean, there's that whole trope, oh, I gave up my 9 to 5 to start my own business. Now I work 24/7. I mean, if you're going to start your own business, you better love what you do because you're going to be committed. You're every day. Like you wake up and it's just you got to love what you do. And that's why I said like follow your passion. If you can
Yeah,
find money doing what you want to do, um, or if you can make money doing what you want to do, that's great. Um, but it's gonna be all of it's not easy. Like
yeah,
it's gonna be 24/7. It's gonna consume you. And that's why it matters like that you follow your passions, right?
mm,
Like, you have to love it. You have to love it. Don't just do
yeah,
it because I want to be my own boss and set my own hours. I'm fully this business is on my mind 24/7 and I
yeah,
stress out. There are like you're basically providing jobs for others and that weighs on you. Bad
yeah,
economy. I've struggled through a bad economy a few years back. I had to let people go. And that is hard. It's
yeah,
hard to let people go. There's a lot of things I wasn't prepared for, and it's letting other people down, but it's the reality of owning a business, right? Um, a lot of sad experiences too. It's not going to be all, sunshine and rainbows. I had to let people go, and yeah, that was one of the it's not going to go the way you think. And it's not
yeah,
going to be you're going to work for yourself. That's great, but there's a lot of disappointment that you're going to face.
yeah.
A lot of sad experiences, a lot of yeah. Yeah. I'm
No,
thinking about
no,
some of the sad interactions I've had to have with people and letting them down, people with children, people
yeah,
who depended on, but if you can't provide it, it is what it is. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't think about that. I'm always animated and I'm always excited. I didn't think about the fact that I'd be letting people down in the
yeah.
future. It's a part of owning a business. So,
Thank you. And
yeah.
thank you for the honesty. I appreciate that. You before we jumped on, I was asking you about your setup there and that T-Rex there. And so
Mhm.
you've talked about wanting to create sort of a social media presence for the work that you do. Now, how did you get into that? And then how did I don't know how many sponsors you have, but you mentioned that they're a sponsor. So for those of us, even myself, navigating, right, the social media landscape, you know,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, what has been your, I think, strategy around that?
Well, so the social media I started to give my family and friends an idea of what I do. I
Yeah,
had a few uncles who were a little snide who said, "Oh, you're a tree climber. Yay." Like I don't know why people tend to be. So I started the social media to kind of show them, right? That's where it started. It was my boyfriend taking pictures and videos, and it's a for me, it's a blue collar, male dominated field. So as a female, it is very easy to stand out. And I didn't want, so I started taking pictures in some of the gear that I was wearing that I started out with. And that's where opportunities started coming. They started taking my pictures and using them in catalogs, all kinds of brands, sponsors, and any brand that I was wearing, they wanted to use that because they wanted women represented.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So that's where that started. And it grew um, because I didn't just want to be pictures only. I wanted to prove myself because it comes with the territory of working in a male dominated field. There is a lot of smack talking and people calling you fake and like, oh, a chick with a chainsaw. The comments were nasty in the beginning. And I didn't want to be known as just like a model. I
yeah,
wanted to prove myself. So that's where the videos started. I'm real. I'm using a chainsaw. I'm up in this 95-foot pine. Like I'm doing it. It's not fake. And that it grew from there. And a lot of clients found me through Instagram. If you can stand out, if you can make yourself and make a name for yourself and stand out, social media can bring a lot of business. And so it all started from wanting to prove something to mainly my mother, and then wanting to prove something to the industry, to the men who talked a lot of smack. And then it just grew from there, right? And then it's like, okay, business is coming. I need to keep this up, right?
yeah,
And that's where it all started, and it just grew and it evolved into what it is now, which I wish I was more active on social media, but juggling the business, doing the actual work, having a home life, got to come home and like do home duties. And at the end of the day, I'm exhausted and editing is difficult. Like I have so much content waiting, but I'm probably going to have to hire at this point to start churning it out more. Um, yeah, so that's where it all started. That's how I ended up here. And the opportunities came in and people just started sending me free stuff and giving me discounts for pictures. And those discounts add up when you own a business, 20% off all tree gear. That adds up over the years,
yeah. Wow.
just for a few pictures every other month. That's great. So I just kept doing it. And the content got better. I added GoPros. I'm gonna get a drone this year. We added an SLR. The quality grew, and it keeps leading to more things. It's great.
Did you could you have ever imagined the presence? Like this idea of I want to share this and I want to document this to kind of show my family
Uh,
and where you're at now. Could you have imagined that it would have gotten so big?
no, no. I mean, if you had asked, oh man, if you had shown me a picture of myself now, like 10 years ago, I'd be like, what did I do? Like, what am I doing? Like, no, I never could have imagined it would have been this. And it's gonna grow more too as I pull back and from the business and allow that like delegate, allow employees to take over certain tasks. And I want to focus mainly on social media. I want to create videos. I found a passion in content creation. I love it. I love building sets. I just love it. I love cameras. I love mics. I used to love that stuff when I was young too. I thought I wanted to be a movie director, but that seemed unrealistic. And then now it's like, oh hey, I get to make content, and it's kind of like a combination of everything I used to love when I was younger. I was a theater kid, a little performative. You gotta like be good in front of a camera. You gotta be comfortable talking. You gotta, you know, have a personality, build sets, like all that stuff. It just all came together
Yeah.
into what I am now. Yeah.
The Kayla, if you don't mind me mentioning, but it sounds like also that same attitude, that same kind of going into this class and thinking, let me see what I can get out of this,
Yeah.
has been something consistent in your life. Because it sounds like, right, I'm going to show this on social media. Well, now I'm fascinated by the cameras, and now I'm fascinated by this, and now I want to learn about this, and now and so it sounds like every kind of phase of your life,
Yeah.
there's been there's been some curiosity attached
Mhm.
to
Or
it.
ADD. I mean,
I,
I have been diagnosed, so I mean,
I think it's more curiosity. I think like to take on anything new. Um, I think we often too often will put limits on ourselves and say,
yeah,
well, I don't have time for that, or I'm not good at that, or I don't do that, right? But from that moment, taking that class to your boyfriend not being able to finish the job and let me go up and I'll do it,
yeah,
right? And everything, it just sounds like, let me start a business, let me do this. It just sounds like at the heart of a lot of this is this tremendous curiosity and exploring and what did you say? And of course you are an adrenaline junkie, right? So that also helps.
yeah.
That helps feed into it. Kayla, this is I think your story kind of has even exceeded my own expectations of yeah, because I saw the posts. Like I said, you were new. I'm new to your social media,
Mhm.
and so I think I've only seen just a little bit, but I thought, okay, this is interesting. There's got
Yeah.
to be a story there, right? And yeah, and even though this is the abridged version, I love it, and I know there's so much there, but I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to share it with us.
Of
Hey,
course. Thank you. I mean, I know it's kind of a nutty story, and I still it's just because I've always been a dabbler. I've always been a dabbler. I've never wanted to commit to one thing. I think my mentality has always been like life is short and I want to do everything. Like I never, like I said earlier, I never saw myself as I'm gonna doing one thing. I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm gonna be Kayla, man. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing in 10 years. Am I gonna keep
yeah,
doing this? I have no idea. I just like taking every opportunity and like just following what lights my heart on fire, and it's led me here, and I'm doing well so far. It's going.
I'd say so. Yeah, absolutely. Kayla, I want to be respectful of your time
Sure.
because I know you're busy um, and so my final question is, if you have to leave our audience, actually, no, you know what? You're speaking to 18-year-olds out there, these graduating seniors. I don't know what a piece of advice would you leave them with?
Take every opportunity. Just every opportunity, even if it's unexpected, like it's not something you really want to do, just take it because you never know where it's gonna lead. Keep an open mind. Don't listen to others. Maybe, I don't know, that might be just bad advice. Um, but just follow your passions and take every opportunity. Because you never know where it's going to lead. I'm living proof of that. And hmm, you don't have to have it figured out at 18, man. I didn't have it figured out. I didn't have it figured out during Trinity. I didn't have it figured out until my last semester, kinda.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be okay. Just take every opportunity and see everything as an opportunity. Um, Learn as much as you can from everybody that crosses your path. You know, I think that's the best advice I can give.
I love it, and I think it's what I think young people need to hear. So thank you.
Mhm. Of course.
Kayla, thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Um, do me a favor. I think as we close, um, I would ask maybe send me your links and I can share those so folks if folks the folks that aren't following you, maybe they want to start following you
Sure. Yeah.
and keeping up with your exciting journey. Maybe for those of us who need to cut down a tree, maybe we can learn a thing or two about what to do and what not to do for
Hire
cutting down.
professionals, dude. Don't do it. Hire me.
Kayla, thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for your time today, and I'm sure your story, I think, will resonate, and if not resonate, certainly inspire. I think a lot of young people who are kind of lost and trying to figure out and think they have to figure it all out. I think your words will give them comfort. So thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes another episode of the Way to College podcast. Thank you to my guests. Thank you to our listeners and viewers out there. Please remember to subscribe, rate, follow, all of that good stuff. And do me a favor and share the podcast with one other person. If you heard the story and you think so and so needs to hear this, absolutely share this story. All right. Because this is a powerful story. It's a wonderful story. And I'd appreciate if you shared it. So thank you. And we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.